One of my favorite folk metal bands of all time is KORPIKLAANI from Finland. And I know that there are some people that maybe they don't like so much KORPIKLAANI, and maybe they don't like so much folk metal. And I know there are some folk metal bands that are not so, let's say, not so successful. For example, I have some examples here. Kivimetsan Druidi. This was one Finnish folk metal band with some black metal elements. They made only 2 albums. This is the first album of them by the name Shadow Heart. Okay, a little bit from Ensinferum, a little bit from Touristas, a little bit black metal, but folk metal. But this is not exactly my cup of tea. Another band also from Finland, a little bit more better, of epic folk metal with also black metal elements, the same Grimfall, and their album of them As the Path Unfolds. And of course I can speak here about Fintroll, and I can speak here about Touristas from Finland, or Battle Lore, another band from Finland. They are something between gothic, folk, Tolkien style of metal. I can speak also, for example, about this German great folk metal band, the same Heide Volk. This is also their first album, if I'm not sure. I can speak about Eluvite. This is another band. They play a style of melodic death with some folk elements in their music. This is their second album by the name Slania, if I'm not sure. I can speak about the band In Extremo, and of course I can speak about the great British band Skyclad, the forefathers of folk metal, and I started to listen to metal because of Skyclad. But in any case, here I will speak about KORPIKLAANI. KORPIKLAANI, this one of the most important things about them, that most of the folk metal bands, they are even more metal and they put in their music folk elements. But this band started as a folk band, only folk, Finnish, Sami folk music they played in the beginning, and afterwards they started to put metal elements in their music. So, their first name of the band was Saamani Duo, and they started in 1993, and they were until this name, Saamani Duo, until 1997. Their first album as Saamani Duo was the album Hunka Lunka. Afterwards, they changed their name to another name by the name Shaman, not the band of Andreas of Matos, rest in peace, of Ankara from Brazil. No, another band by the name Shaman, and they were under this name from 1997 until 2003. And they made 2 albums, also of folk Finnish music. The first album was Ija. Ija in Finnish is night, in 1999, and the second album, Samaniac, in 2002. And only afterwards they changed their name to KORPIKLAANI, and they started to play folk metal. One of the most important reasons that they started to play folk metal, was because the mastermind of the band, John Zarvela, he was in connection in these days with Fintroll, the folk blacksters Fintroll, and because of their influence, he started to play folk metal. KORPIKLAANI also in Finnish, the name is something like Backwoods Clan, the name of the band. Now, they changed many people, many members, and some members of them, they made another band, another side project. They played the style of folk melodic death by the name Falchion, and they made with this band 1 EP and 2 studio albums. The first album was by the name Legacy of Heathens of 2005, and this is the second and last album of them, Chronicles of the Dead of 2008. This band was only from 2002 until 2009. But here I will speak specially about KORPIKLAANI and their 11 albums of them. I will run their albums from worst to best. In reality, I don't think there's a really worst album of them. I love their albums. One of the problems is that in the beginning of the band, for many years, they made a new album every year, and because that most of their albums, they are very common to each other, you cannot be sure about one song of them if it is in this album or it is another album. So to make this rank of the albums of KORPIKLAANI, it was a little bit difficult. But in any case, let's start. In the 11th place, I will put their first album, Spirit of the Forest, the first album by the name KORPIKLAANI, of 2003. And I put this in this place because it's a little bit more folk than metal, in my opinion. In the next place, in the 10th place, their 9th album of them, Noita of 2015. This album, Noita in Finnish is Witch. This album is only in Finnish and came out many years. I said that until their 8th album, they made a new album every year. But it took for them 3 years afterwards, first time, to put out this album. This is not bad album, but a little bit not exactly like the great old days of them. Now, in the 9th place, one album that maybe I'm not make good judge about this, their last album until now, their 11th album of 2021, by the name Zilha. Zilha, the meaning is something like majestic, wild, something like that. Their last album until now. Many people like this album, and I like this also, but I have to listen this even more to be with even more in contact with this. The thematology of this album is even more about some murderers in Finland, also about the murderers of the Lake Bodom, the same concept that the Children of Bodom took the name from there. Great also album, but because it's very new until now, I put this in this place. In the 8th place, their 5th album of 2008, Koren Kuninkas. This album is some of the songs in Finnish, some of the songs in English. Koren Kuninkas, the name is, the translation in English is King of the Woods. Okay, a good album, but not so good, in my opinion, because of the other albums that will come afterwards. In the 7th place, their 3rd album of 2006, Tales Along This Road. And I know there are many people that prefer this album even more from every other album. For me, because it comes after their 2nd album, Voice of Wilderness, I put this in this place because I'm so connected with the Voice of Wilderness. Now, this was the last album of them with an English title, and the first album of them with this mascot of them, this old guy, something like a shaman, a druid from Finland. In 6th place, their 7th album of 2011, Woken Worker. Woken Worker was a pagan sacrificial feast to the god of Finland, Ukko, something like that. Also, this album is they sing everything in Finnish. A good album. In the 5th place, their 10th album of 2018, and I'm speaking about Kulkija. First of all, this is a great album, the most longest album of them until now. Everything also here, they sing everything here in Finnish also. Kulkidza, the translation is something like the Wanderer. This is also the first album after so many years without their mascot, without this old guy in the cover art. A great album. This is a little bit more darkest, if you understand what I'm saying, but I like it very much. In the fourth place, their eighth album of 2012, Manala. Manala in Finnish is Underworld. A great also album of them. Third place, their sixth album of 2009 by the name Karkelo. Karkelo also, they sings here some songs in English, some songs in Finnish. Karkelo, the meaning is something like party, to make fun, something like that. I like this album very much. But in the second place, their fourth album of 2007 by the name Tervascanto. The meaning something is like a resinous stamp, something like that. A great album. I like it a lot. Also, some songs here in English, some songs in Finnish. But in the first place, their second album of them of 2005 by the name Voice of Wilderness. This was the first album that I listened from KORPIKLAANI. This is one of the reasons that I'm so connected with this album. Here, all of their songs, they're great. Also, they have the great album song of them, Beer. Also, they played the same song as a folk song in the last album of Samaniac, but this is a great album. Songs as Journeyman, Fields in Flames, Spirit of the Forest, Native Land, Hunting Song, Beer, Old Tale, and etc. Great album. And I remember that I was listening to this album in the period of 2005-2006. I was in the March of the Living in Poland, and Poland is a very big country. To go to place, you need a bus and 6 hours from here to there, and to be inside the bus in Poland, inside their forests of Poland, and inside their small villages of Poland, and to listen to this music, this is a great experience. So this is about our Finnish folk metallers, KORPIKLAANI from Jerusalem, from Israel. Stay metal and stay heavy.